Not all heroes fight alone. Some bring an army. Which classes summon best and how do you build them? In this final chapter of the Summoner's Handbook, we break down the strongest summoner builds in Baldur's Gate 3. Let's begin. The most effective summoners are full casters, or multiclass builds with at least 11 caster levels which unlock 6 level spell slots and access to the highest tier summoning spells available to their class. Some summoning spells are so easy to access they can be considered baseline for any summoner. With just one level of wizard and the Inscribe Scroll feature, you can cast Summon Elemental, Conjure Minor Elemental, Animate Dead and Create Undead. Elementals are also part of the Druid spell list, and Undead are available to Clerics by default. But two classes stand out because of unique summons that no other build can fully replicate. First, the Cleric. They are the only class that can summon Planar Ally. And while Spiritual Weapon and Guardian of Faith are usually considered Cleric only, a Bard can actually pick those up through magical secrets. Second, the Druid, who gets Conjure, Woodland Being and Grasping Vine. Those two remain exclusive to Druids, no other class can cast them. If you judge purely by summoning power, Clerics and Druids, with one level of Wizard for scroll access, clearly come out on top. But summoning is only half the story. What truly makes a summoner powerful is how they combine spells, class abilities and items to support and amplify the swarm. These supporting traits fall into three main pillars worth building around: offensive support, defensive support and control. Druids are one of the two default summoner build options in Baldur's Gate 3, and for a good reason. Their summoning list is excellent. Conjure Woodland Being gives you 2 strong summons for its level, and while Grasping Vine is more of a niche situational tool, it still adds one more creature to a battlefield. Druid multiclassing usually involves adding 1 level of Cleric for Sanctuary access, which is far too powerful for summoners to ignore without a very good reason. Additionally, you can add a level of Wizard to pick Animate Dead, Create Undead, Haste and Control spells like Hold Person, Hold Monster, Slow and Hypnotic Pattern. There's also the option of taking 3 levels of Sorcerer for Meta Magic, which lets you cast Twin Haste for your summons. This comes at the cost of your level 10 subclass feature and a feat. But even a Druid 7, Sorcerer 3, Wizard 1, Cleric 1 build can still cast all Druid summoning spells, since they only require 7 levels of Druid. The high level elemental summons, which scale into Myrmidons, are on the Wizard list anyway. Despite the trade-offs, this build remains highly effective. Spore Druids. While the Spore servants they summon are useful, they are generally low tier and require a steady supply of corpses, which can become a problem if you are already running Animate Dead casters. If you plan to field several of these, you will want to stockpile NPC bodies early. But the real reason to take a Spore Druid is their ability to use the armor of the Sporekeeper. This armor single-handedly provides the most impactful offensive buff for a summoning team. Since only one character can wear the armor, you only ever need one Spore Druid on your team to fully unlock its potential. You don't even need a high-level Druid to make this work. A level 2 Druid wearing the armor already gives your party the full benefit of this slot's signature buff. If you already have a Spore Druid covering this role, or if you don't yet have access to the armor, there are still excellent alternatives. Moon Druids are very powerful, but they are not really summoner builds until level 10. At that point, their ability to shapeshift into water myrmidons, especially when self-hasted, becomes an incredibly strong backbone for a summoning team. They deal deadly area damage while healing your entire backline every turn. As mentioned in earlier chapters, the water myrmidons healing scales exceptionally well with summoning swarms, and the shapeshifted version heals even more than the summoned one. The Circle of Stars Druids is a strong all-purpose subclass, perfect for low-level play or if you want to cast spells instead of transforming into an owlbear. The subclass adds pressure through radiant blasts, provides extra healing and offers immunity to concentration breaks, which is a huge advantage when supporting your summons. This is a perfect match for a Cleric multiclass, letting you stay safe under Sanctuary while healing and casting Moonbeam to support your summon creatures. At low levels, Circle of Stars is likely your strongest option, especially when paired with 1 level of Cleric for Sanctuary. At high levels, 1 Spore Druid becomes incredibly powerful for the entire party. But you don't need more than 1. If you already have the armor of the Sporekeeper covered, Access Druids at high levels are best slotted as Moon Druids for their Water Myrmidon transformation. In short, Druids bring an excellent array of summons, strong utility at low level thanks to Conjure Woodland Being in Circle of Stars, and incredible adaptability at higher levels. They are one of the most versatile and rewarding classes for summoning builds. Whether you are staying behind fields of spike growth, transforming into an owl bear and jumping into the fray, calling lightning on wet enemies or in the backline, casting spore clouds from the armor of the Sporekeeper to empower your entire army, or becoming a laser turret with moonbeams while protected by a Cleric sanctuary, the Druid can do it all. Clerics are the other exceptional choice for a summoning build. By default, they aren't the strongest summoners in the game, but thanks to the ease of picking up extra summoning spells through a single level of wizard, they can access nearly every summoning spell in the game except for a few Druid exclusives. A Cleric 11 Wizard 1 build combined with illicit free casting and a level 6 spell slot recharge option is uniquely capable of summoning 3 6-level spell creatures at once. 1 Planar Ally, 1 Myrmidon and 1 Mummy from Create Undead. On top of that, they can fill the field with lesser elementals, spiritual weapons and Guardian of Faith to clutter the battlefield. Where the Druid excels as the offensive summoner and the only class able to wield the armor of the Sporekeeper, the Cleric shines as the backbone support. They are the only class that can fully utilize the healing and buffing synergies of items and spells like the Devotee's Mace, Beacon of Hope and Whispering Promise, empowering the entire area around them with sustained healing and powerful buffs every turn. While Druids bring flexible offense and adaptability, Clerics lean heavily into a support role, making them indispensable to a summoner team. However, you rarely want more than one dedicated support Cleric, because just like with a Sporekeeper's armor, most of the healing triggered items such as Whispering Promise and Hellrider's Pride only exist once in the game and are best used on a single character. One important caveat: if you want access to Planar Ally, which you absolutely do as a full summoner, you need 11 levels of Cleric, and the 12th level is reserved for a wizard dip to unlock Myrmidons. This leaves little room for flexibility, because any deviation would cost you access to your most powerful summons. Even so, the Cleric-Wizard combination offers the strongest endgame summoning roster and can still adapt somewhat through subclass choice. Life Cleric is the default pick. They synergize the most with the support builds, items and spells, serving as the core of your summoning swarm. If you only have one Cleric, this is the one to choose. The self-healing you gain from each area of effect heal into your swarm is so strong that you become very hard to kill, which means your swarm keeps running too. Tempest and Depths Clerics are solid second tier choices. If the main support role is already filled and you have room for more Clerics, these more offensive options are great for adding ranged magical damage. Just keep in mind, you still need to stay at 11 Cleric, 1 Wizard, so the typical Sorcerer Tempest Cleric Lightning build is not possible without sacrificing Planar Ally. Light and Nature Clerics are optional, but still useful. Light Clerics can extend their ward to protect allies, imposing disadvantage on attacks against them. Nature Clerics bring dampen elements, which can help shield allies from elemental damage. War Clerics focus more on personal damage and don't fit cleanly into a summoner playstyle. However, they do bring Crusader's Mantle, an aura normally only available to bards and paladins, that boosts weapon damage for all allies in an area. That alone can justify them as a flex pick in the right party. While Clerics and Druids, one more offensive and adaptable, the other more defensive and supportive in nature, are the default summoner picks, there's another role that's so valuable to a summoning team that it deserves its own spot, and that is crowd control. Enemies that are frozen in place by spells like Hold Person or Hold Monster are easy prey for your melee summons, and area control spells can prevent enormous damage to your swarm. That makes a control caster one of the 3 core choices in a summoning party. There are many ways to build a control specialist, but the key is simple. You will need full spellcaster levels and at least 1 level of wizard to unlock summoning spells via scrolls. The best control builds take advantage of arcane equity based items available in Act 2, which dramatically increase your spell save DC. I go deeper into this in my control spell spotlight, Hold Person versus Hypnotic Pattern versus Confuse. There are plenty of options for building a control caster who still contributes to your summoning roster, as long as you maintain full caster levels with 1 wizard level to unlock summoning scrolls. You are free to focus on whichever control tools you like. Just aim for the highest DC possible and use Hold Person or Hold Monster as often as you can. Lore bards shine in the control slot primarily because of cutting words. which lets you lower enemy saving throws and disrupt their attacks, making your summons and crowd control spells far more effective. On top of that, magical secrets provide access to a few powerful off-list spells, including some Cleric's exclusive summons, which complements the summoner strategy nicely. This combination of debuffing utility and unique spell access makes Lorebard an excellent choice for supporting your swarm. Swordbards pair beautifully with a Helm of Arcane Acuity, rapidly stacking Acuity by making bow attacks. Once their Acuity is stacked, they can unleash a devastating enchantment or illusion spell using the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel as a bonus action. This enables them both to control the battlefield and deal respectable damage. Abjuration wizards are excellent at shielding their team with Project Ward while still summoning and casting control spells. For an unconventional and buggy synergy, you can combine 1 Cleric levels, 3 Sorcerer levels and the rest Abjuration wizard. Extended Sanctuary can temporarily push your Arcane Ward stacks far beyond their normal limit, up to double. Though this appears unintended and resets when you cast other non-extended Abjuration spells. Blade Singers theoretically work as mini AoE melee clerics, fighting in the middle of your summons and triggering healing effects. Not the strongest choice, but thematically interesting. Divination Wizards are a great choice for control specialists thanks to Portent Dice, which can lock down key saving throws. Enchantment Wizards specialize in enchantments and get the split enchantment feature. But this comes online late and doesn't work with Eyebite or single target control spells that are upcast to affect multiple targets. In other words, it simply doesn't work on a lot of the spells you would want it to. That said, Split Crown of Madness is quite good and can justify the pick if you enjoy the theme. Evocation Wizards are a fun pick if you want to throw fireballs without worrying about harming your summons, thanks to Sculpt spells. Necromancers are an obvious choice if you want to emphasize undead. They work well in the control slot to boost your undead summons or even as a hybrid Necromancer 6 Spore Druid 6 build. This lets a wizard wear the Sporekeeper armor, though you lose access to conjure Woodland Being. Shadow Sorcerers are always a solid choice for meta magic, especially because of Twin Taste and Haten Spell for better control. They are particularly useful because they bring an additional summon of their own while contributing crowd control. These 3 roles form the foundation of an optimized summoning party. 1 Sporekeeper Druid for offense, 1 Life Cleric for healing and buffs, and 1 control-oriented wizard multiclass. Together, they cover the fundamental pillars of a summoner team: offense, support, and control, leaving plenty of room for creativity in your 4th slot. And that's where the flex slot comes in. With the essentials already covered, this final spot is your opportunity to fully embrace creative freedom without compromising the team's core functionality. You can double down on a Moon Druid, add another control-focused wizard or bard, or even slot in a second cleric with a more offensive setup. All of these can strengthen your summoner-heavy party further. But because this last pick is less about pure optimization and more about build crafting for its own sake, let's take a look at some alternative, though less powerful options that still contribute meaningfully to a summoner team. Warlock levels do not increase your effective caster level and don't grant access to nearly as many summons as the core classes, but they still offer some compelling options. Their Hunger of Hader focus playstyle pairs beautifully with swarms of ice methods, skeleton archers and water myrmidons, all of which thrive when enemies are trapped in a hazardous zone. Warlocks also bring a couple of summons on their own. Create Undead via Mystic Arcanum, the non-myrmidon version of Conjure Elemental through the Minions of Chaos Invocation, animate that via Pact of the Tome, but only at base level, and stronger familiars if you take Pact of the Chain. They are a solid flex slot if you want to add personal firepower while still contributing to the swarm. Beastmaster Rangers bring a unique scaling animal companion, a summon that stands apart from the conjured creatures available to full casters. While often overlooked in solo play or pure damage builds because of their limited synergy with personal DPS, they shine in a team focused on supporting minions. The Beastmaster's companion is a powerful addition to your army, but it requires full commitment to the subclass to reach its potential. At level 11, the pet gains major stat boosts, new abilities and an extra attack, transforming into one of the most versatile and self-sufficient minions in the game. Below level 11, you are missing out on what truly makes the subclass shine. If this pet were available on a full caster, it would be an incredibly strong addition to any summoner roster. That said, the ranger themselves can still contribute meaningfully with range damage, making this a great choice if you enjoy the fantasy of a sharpshooter fighting alongside a loyal companion. If that appeals to you, the Beastmaster Ranger is absolutely worth considering. It might surprise you. While not optimal for maximizing summoning power, it's a solid and flavorful flex slot option. Paladins, like the Beastmaster Ranger, aren't summoners themselves, and under optimal conditions their contribution to summoning power is limited. However, the utility they bring can still be extremely valuable to a summoner team. Their Aura of Protection, gained at level 6, adds their Charisma modifier to all saving throws for creatures within the aura, making your summons significantly more resilient to spells, crowd control and debuffs. Paladins also have access to key support spells. Crusader's Mantle, which adds radiant damage to every weapon attack in a large area. This scales beautifully with a swarm of weapon-wielding summons. Warden of Vitality, which let them convert their bonus action into targeted healing every turn. And classic cleric buffs like Bless, Aid and Shield of Faith, all of which remain valuable for empowering your summon army. Oathbreaker comes closest to being a summoner with Animate Dead and Control Undead, giving you 2 undead minions. It also features an aura that boosts undead and fiend melee damage by your Charisma modifier, though in practice very few summons actually wield melee weapons, limiting its value. These picks are not about pure optimization, instead they are about creative expression, party flavor and finding fun ways to support your swarm. Even if they don't bring the raw power of a druid, cleric or wizard, they still can contribute meaningfully to your summoner strategy and make your party truly your own. If you want to stay at the forefront of the summoning power curve, you will need to respec your party several times throughout your playthrough to align with key power spikes. At level 3, summoning starts to feel impactful for the first time. Spiritual weapons and flaming spheres enter the scene, and with multiple characters fielding them, you can already begin to dominate the battlefield. In the early game, light clerics stand out as the summoning powerhouse, thanks to their access to Sanctuary, Flaming Sphere, Spiritual Weapon and eventually Animate Dead at level 5. From level 7 onward, druids take over, flooding the battlefield with Conjure Woodland Being in addition to Conjure Minor Elementals. By Act 2, with access to arcane equity items, the control-oriented wizard build becomes viable and highly effective. At level 10, cleric gain Divine Intervention, which supercharges their support role, while moon druids unlock the ability to shapeshift into water myrmidons, a major power spike for summoner builds. At level 11, all classes gain access to their top tier summons. These milestones mark the major turning points in a summoner's party's growth, and planning around them will keep your swarm ahead of the curve. Depending on multiclassing, these values can shift, obviously. Here's a short template for a summoner-focused party. These builds cover the 3 core roles: offense, healing and control, plus a strong 4th flex pick. Slot 1. Spore Druid 7, Cleric 1, Wizard 1, Shadow Sorcerer 3. This build wields the armor of the Sporekeeper, enabling its strongest offensive buff for a summoning team. It also brings meta magic for flexible casting like Twin Haste or Haten control spells, Sanctuary and Moonbeam as an emergency combo. Full wizard summoning spells, Conjure Woodland Being and Grasping Vine. The trade-off is that it only leaves room for 1 feat, but it remains one of the strongest offensive summoner builds. Slot 2. Life Cleric 11, Wizard 1. A pure support build centered on healing and buffing your swarm with items like Devotee's Mace, Hellrider's Pride and Whispering Promise. This build has access to nearly all summoning spells except for the exclusive druid ones and can sustain your summons through even the toughest fights. Slot 3. Swordbard 6, Wizard 1, Paladin 2, Shadow Sorcerer 3. A control-oriented hybrid that synergizes with Helmet of Arcane Equity and Band of the Mystic Scoundrel. This build stacks Arcane Equity using Slashing Flourish, then casts Hold Person as a bonus action through the band after attacking. If the summons don't finish the held target, you can close in and use Smite to execute them. This build also has full wizard summoning access and meta magic support. He's also capable of taking care of disarming traps and dialogue checks. Slot 4, Moon Druid 10, Cleric 1, Wizard 1. A high-level summoner that can shapeshift into a water myrmidon for a powerful AoE damage and healing, while still summoning and supporting the swarm. This build also brings Sanctuary, Haste and the full summoner toolkit of the Druid. Summoner builds aren't about one overpowered character, they are about many, working together, supporting each other, covering weaknesses and amplifying strength. With the right tools, spells and plenty of bodies on the field, your swarm becomes a tidal wave that rolls over encounters through sheer mass and pressure. Here are some key strategies to keep in mind when playing summoner builds. Manage area damage. Summons are very susceptible to enemy AoE attacks, but also benefit from your own AoE heals. Against enemies with strong AoEs, spread your summons out. Otherwise, keep them close to your buffers and healers to maximize support effects. Control enemy aggro. Enemies strongly prefer attacking player characters over summons, regardless of AC or remaining health. You can use this to your advantage by positioning your life cleric at the front, fully buffed, healing themselves and the swarm, and soaking hits while your summons do their work. Building for high AC makes it much safer to withstand the inevitable focus. But keep in mind that if other low AC characters are also within attack range, they will usually draw enemy aggression before your cleric. Leverage high AC summons effectively. As noted earlier, enemies strongly prefer attacking player characters if any are within attack range. And even if no players are present, they still prioritize low AC summons over tougher ones. This means your most durable summons, like Devas, Aethers and Earth Myrmidons, are usually ignored entirely. To counter this and actually make use of their high durability, you can form a Vanguard squad. Field only high AC summons and keep all fragile summons and players out of the battle for the opening turns. This forces enemies to waste their resources on your sturdy frontline until your fragile summons and party move in to finish the fight. Synergize ranged summons with terrain control. Ice Methods, Skeleton Archers, Cambions and Water Myrmidons shine when paired with spells like Spike Rose or Hunger of Hadar. Position them with your ranged characters and punish anything that enters the hazard zones. Support melee summons properly. Zombies and flying ghouls are more effective alongside melee characters who can prone or disable enemies. Items like the Circle of Bones and spells like Hold Person dramatically improve their impact. Even low-level Spore zombies can shred held targets due to autocrits that would otherwise shrug off their attacks. Buff and heal your summons. Don't treat them as disposable. They scale very well with team buffs like Aid, Beacon of Hope or Bless, and proper healing can keep them on the field far longer. Stack multiples of the same summon. Many summons have low DC for their abilities, but you can overwhelm enemies through sheer numbers. For example, 4 Cambions can quickly eliminate a single target. 4 Water Myrmidons can heal more than a pure cleric. 12 Flying Ghouls can obliterate a field of prone enemies. Initiative matters. While your summons don't benefit directly from your character's initiative, acting early allows you to cast defensive spells, lay down control effects and set up terrain hazards before the enemy moves. For example, your ghouls can only capitalize on prone enemies if the character casting Command Grovel acts before them. The easiest and most effective way to take care of this is slotting the alert feed. A full summoner party is greater than the sum of its parts. Plan your roles, position your swarm intelligently, and don't be afraid to stake identical summons when needed. With the right strategy and a little creativity, you can turn any battlefield into a playground for your minions. If you made it this far through all 8 parts of this massive summoning deep dive, thank you, truly. This guide has been a long journey to put together, and if you stuck with me until the end, I hope it gave you not just knowledge, but a few moments of fun along the way. Maybe it helped you rethink your party composition, maybe you came up an idea for your next playthrough, or maybe it gave you the push to try something completely different. You know, something other than Gloomstalker Assassin again and again. Summoner builds won't always win the fastest, but they will win. Get that swarm rolling. If you enjoyed this kind of deep dive content, long form guides, synergy theory, mechanical breakdowns and party building strategy, consider subscribing to the channel. Maybe in Baldur's Gate, maybe in another game. Let's break the system together. Drop a comment how you're running your own summon team, or if you have discovered an interaction I didn't cover here. I read everything, and I love hearing how you outsmarted the game. Until next time, may your summons be many, your spells always land, and your team always stand strong together. Just not so close that they all get hit by the same fireball. Thanks for watching, and praise Baal.